This way. Great. Looks like we're live. I don't see myself on. There I am. Okay. Welcome. Uh, First time I've done this in about 2 years, two times in a week, and I had some excess questions from Monday. We started doing a Q&A every Monday. We were doing it every other Monday, but we started doing it every Monday to give people an opportunity, mainly the existing living in the private members that just have questions that sometimes need to be addressed. You go log into your ticket and you see it, you look at it, you got instructions, and sometimes it's just you need a little extra. And so that's what we do these Q&As for, is just to help new people that are making a decision to come into the private through his advocates living in the private program or existing members who have, just different needs. And everybody has a different need. A lot of great questions. We help a lot of chiropractors in their businesses, a lot of doctors, construction companies, food companies go private. And so not only can you go private, your company can go private, to where you can, have a membership organization direct with the consumer. Uh, Tons of questions come out of that. What about sales tax? You're not allowed to contract with the state for sales tax. You're not a corporation. And they might imply differently, but we have things that we can do to help them understand your right to be private, and not in the public, and that you don't have an ability to contract with them to pay sales tax or have your clients pay sales tax. So all these nuancy kind of questions, we kind of compile them throughout the week, and we get them addressed here. And I'm going to go into all kinds of information tonight, but we have a lot of questions, so I'm going to start immediately off on the questions. Um, Last couple times we've been on, we've had some pushback, and guys, that's pretty normal for the course. There's people out there, they're either law enforcement or ex-law enforcement or and they want to push back with questions like, the United States is not a corporation. And I respond with, the case cites the code that proves that it is. And those are people that are trying to protect their friends. Those are people that maybe got asked a question from one of their friends, and they don't understand, and that's okay. When I went, I probably would have said the same thing 20 years ago to you. Um, I've had old men yell at me and tell me I'm breaking the law. I've had people tell me we're an illegal organization. I've had people tell me all kinds of things, and it's people generally that haven't looked into anything, and they hear the fact that they can file a revocation of election with the IRS as a state of the Union citizen, first get their jurisdiction correct, come back where the founders gave us, which was state citizenship. They did not give us U.S. citizenship. And then you got to take care of the IRS contract. That's a revocation of election, a notice of status, and a removal of signature. Once those three things are done, total of 9 letters, and we do them all for you. You have to sign them, notarize them, send them. That's it. Once we do those for you, your element of how do you contract is the only thing you need to think about. So, do you want to earn compensation through your foundation that we create for you? Do you want to change your status with your HR department to a W-8 BEN, which is a non-citizen or non-resident alien? Which we restructure the W-8 because we can in law. And I've had attorneys tell me you're not allowed to change government forms, and that's absolutely incorrect. As a matter of fact, right on the DS-11, if you need to make changes or the documents right in the oath section, because I believe his advocates, and we're getting ready to do some lawsuits and some different things to help pave the way for America to come private. I'm tired of the labels underneath our YouTube videos that say sovereign citizen movement. That's labeling us. It's defamation. YouTube's going to hear from our attorneys. I'm tired of Rumble coming after or allowing, rhetoric to be said about things through people. And there's a lot of good people on Rumble, but Rumble was just bought by Tether, and they're kind of moving up the ranks. And I think things are going to change with Rumble, which is why we started His Advocates TV. It's more than just internet. It's uh, Roku, Amazon Fire, Android TV, Google, Apple, LG, Samsung, and a few other cable networks and things. Um, so we created the a private network. I'm tired of the way that exchanges are treating people, requiring this, that, and the other. So we're creating a crypto exchange. And it's kind of a sad thing. It's one of those it's one of those things where people they don't know any better and they're trained by just like the FBI. What the FBI does is they train law enforcement on this element of state citizenship. But they call it sovereign citizen, and they literally say these people believe, listen to me, listen to this ideology. These people believe that they are not under federal authority. Now, if you have any idea of the Declaration or of the Constitution for the United States, if you had any inclination, if you've ever read it, nobody should be under federal authority. So the idea that law enforcement would train law enforcement on sovereign citizens as being an illegal, and I get it, they didn't pave the way for us. I get it. They didn't show us a clear-cut path. I get it. I honestly, I want to give all the glory to my Lord and Savior. I'm not getting an award here, but I do. I want to give all the glory to God because there are so many things that happen to get the knowledge and so many tests that we had to do to get to where we're at today. And I was a guinea pig myself for a lot of years, and I've figured stuff out a long time ago, and we've perfected the process, and very few changes have had to happen in the last 10 years. But gosh, to know that we have a nation where we truly can be free, self-governed under God directly, where you have a constitution that restrains the federal government, meaning exactly this: you are not under the federal government, they are under you. You're the government. Okay. They incorporated exclusive jurisdiction in DC. They serve us, we don't serve them. They serve us, we don't serve them. The second you became a US citizen, became an employee of the United States, let me say it that way. The second you became an employee of the United States, and that means got a job, got a social, got a driver's license, all those things. The second you became a citizen of the United States, you lost your jurisdictional position as the self-governed man or woman, and you came under the authority of the federal government because they're your boss. They're the owner of the corporation. We are now debtors and no longer creditors. And you are a stockholder of the United States and a defunct corporation. Before, listen to me, the states were incorporated. The states would give certified audited financial reports, CAFR reports, to their citizens about the profit that the state would make. And they started figuring out how to create a fledged report, and they bankrupted the United States, and they brought it under the umbrella of the United States and away from state citizenship, and then restructured history. If you don't think history can be restructured, you are just waking up. History is created by the victors. History is created by governments. History, true history, needs to be searched. True history needs to be gone after. You can't just make that up. You have to find history, true history. And don't think for a second they don't want to cover everything up. If there's a profit center in it, they're going to be going down that profit center. And what's the profit center in keeping you as a subject slave? They get to control your birth certificate. They get to monetize your birth certificate. They get to use you as collateral against the debt. They get to, I mean, I can go on and on. Now they're next leveling it. And I really am trying to share the scope of how much they are next leveling it. And some of the things that they're doing, and I'm going to throw some things out there that are going to sound pie in the sky, maybe conspiratorial. I think I can factually base it because the Supreme Court is what I'm going to use, meaning a ruling from the Supreme Court that the mRNA vaccines now produce what's known as cDNA, synthetic DNA, which makes you, if you've been injected, a product of one of those companies. And now literally owned. Now, look, I don't want to offend anybody by saying that. That is a Supreme Court ruling. Go look it up. I don't need to defend that. I've already looked it up. I've already seen it. And if you are now able to be owned, controlled, manipulated, jabbed further, it's starting to look a lot like the late 40s, mid 40s, towards the end of World War II. And that's a little scary, That's one of those things. If you believe the whole narrative of World War II and you believe the whole narrative of history, I mean that's a pretty scary thing to think that we can be that controlled and wound up. I saw something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, which was a 5-year stint of complete lies, complete total structural breakdown of morality in our nation and our governments and corporations really running the governments. I've seen everything about the history of our country being changed and news became fake, everything became fake, and then you saw an ex-president get indicted. You saw all kinds of stuff, and so I just want to encourage you guys. The law is the law. Um, you're either going to be subject to a corporation that's going to be wound up into a corporate structure and where they're going to create the world order through. And it's all going to be through this indebted thing. All the BCs are registered at the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. Okay, if you don't understand that, that's just a fact. All the BCs of the world, let me say that. So that's how it happens. The people of the world are pledged against the debt of these corporations. That's how it's happening. So that's why you're not going to see the big pushback on the pharmaceuticals. That's why you're not going to see the pushback on um, not having full disclosure when you're taking an injection. You know what I mean? Thinking you're supposed to get help, and they changed the rule set of the injection, meaning what a vaccine means during the middle of it. I mean, it's sad, scary, you know, but it's very real. And I didn't say anything to you right now, guys. It wasn't truth. So the good news, there's a path out. The even better news, you're not obligated to pay anybody a dime on anything that you create with your hands, unless you choose otherwise, or if you're a United States citizen. So if you're a state citizen and you create private structures and you want to contract with other people in your community and do service with them privately, you're golden. And the Constitution of the United States protects that. Now, we have this game being played, and you have these sysops all the time. PSYOP, sysop, whatever. And part of it's the QAnon, part of it's different administrations. So you really don't know what to believe. But I want to assure you of something. It's all AI generated, it's all AI controlled. And I want to say something that I want you to hear from my heart. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart because it brings me a peace. God is still on the throne. He's real intelligence, not artificial. And we've already won. You just got to play this song in your head as long as you need to, or as long as you want to. But know that you have already won this battle. So I don't care what this looks like. I don't care what they're saying. I don't care how they're saying it. All I know is I want to play the game privately and not publicly. I don't want to give an ounce of my sweat labor to Satan or his minions or anything, you know. I even have Christians. And guys, you all know the story. What do you call yourself, Kelby? They surrounded me, a bunch of elders at a party. It was fun. It was funny. What do you say that you are? You're a tax protester? And I was very respectful. I said I'd rather be a tax protester than a baby killer like you guys or like you. And I said, your money goes to things that you dang well know is inappropriate, not mine. And that really resonates for believers when they get that. Do you want your money to go to the Cosa Nostra? Do you want, oh, because Elon Musk fixed a couple things and said a couple trillion is now back in order? Oh, you think now you're okay structurally? You think now everything's fine? What about the white elephants? What about these programs being done against the world, being done against us? What about the 450,000 children that disappear in this nation every year? What about that white elephant? What kind of system of money flow does it take to keep that one quiet? Post it on the FBI list, but keep that one quiet. Don't let that one get out into the public. Don't let that get out on mainstream news. What about 750,000 adults and children disappear in this nation every year? 750,000 adults and children. What about the people that are standing up and saying what they have seen with their own eyes regarding the Clintons or the Obamas? What about that? There's people now coming out saying they've seen things against Trump. I don't necessarily believe it. I don't necessarily believe the other stuff, but I'll tell you right now, there's about 170 people dead around the Clintons directly associated to everything, and they happen to die or kill themselves or hang themselves in jail right before they're supposed to go in for special hearings to testify against them. Nobody's disappearing or dying around Donald Trump. I'm just putting that out there. Something to consider. Well, his ex-wife, that's true. She fell down some stairs. Something to think about. I'll take that. I am discouraged by the world. I have been ever since 2006, 7, and 8. I lost everything and I gained everything. I gained my freedom. I gained knowledge, which was the steps to freedom. And my life completely shifted. I went from a businessman who had 1,200 plus employees in my career. I've been a banker, lender, private capital, a licensed real estate broker, licensed real estate agent, licensed insurance agent. Now I'm an author, got a new book. The only thing that matters to me, the only thing, I don't care about getting heckled. Trust me, when you do what I do, you get heckled. When you come out of the world and say, I believe in a God and have prayer service, you get heckled. When you come out of the world and say, I don't think we should be paying taxes because it's evil, you get some heckle. You get a lot of crazy people. But I'm starting to see that mainstream Christianity is starting to look more at the truth underneath what they've been taught. Yeah, there is only one risen Son of God. Yeah, we're not going to get into the argument of theology, but there's more to what we've been taught that really kind of strips us of some truths, and there's more bondage in religion than there is freedom. Let's just be honest. And I know there's a lot of people that want to make the arguments of how to serve, how to worship, how to this, how to that. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to placate to my belief system of what I believe in the Bible, but I am going to placate to how I treat somebody who doesn't believe what I believe. I'm going to try to be the example to bring them into my faith because my faith is freedom. Every other faith I hear is a debtor's or subservient or just straight up evil. And so, what his advocates and his advocates.tv and what we want to represent is not just freedom of a physical nature, but to free your mind of religion and to free your heart so that you don't have to hold on to the anger and the bitterness and what divides this world, and to free your spirit to truly find the risen Son and the only way. There isn't. And look, my belief, I'm entitled. I can say this fervently. If you've done the research into this nation like I have and found what I have, think about how much I've done the research into a man named Yeshua, who absolutely was born, raised, died on a cross. But most importantly, what religion fails to talk about the most is he resurrected and he is the living Son of God. And that is the only way to the Father. And I'm not trying to be impartial. I'm not trying to poo-poo another religion. It's my faith. I'm entitled to it. You're here listening, but you want true freedom and you want to find it from somebody who's done as much study as I've done in law about religions and faith. And hey, look, I don't say the Bible's perfect like every other Christian out there. I talk about the changes that have happened in the Bible over the years. I talk about the nature of what's been adjusted to give governing authority control over people versus the truth of what the Bible says. I talk about the freedom of man under God directly, which is a direct counter to what my Christianity is teaching out there in a mainstream public. I have come against mainstream Christianity, not because I don't believe in the overall product that they deliver, which is the faith in Yeshua, Jesus. I come against it because it makes men weak. It makes women weak. And that's really a sad thing. Not understanding the biblical principles of what submission is. Taking every word of the Bible and applying it as law to 8 billion people instead of taking the law of the Bible and the word as an account of what happened to an individual and how you may or may not apply it in your life. I think when people come, when God comes, he's going to say to the people, he's going to correct the record of the theology that they had, just like Jesus did. He corrected the record of the theology that the Pharisees had about murder, about hatred, all these things. He flipped. They had it all wrong. Do you think they got it all right today? No. And I'm not trying to make myself right in religion or faith or whatever wrong or Christianity. I'm just saying that when you've looked into what I've looked into and you find the absolute truth in Christianity, we are direct under God. No man is in between us and God. Catholics try to put a man between you. They call him a priest, and you got to go to him. Christians now want to put the government between you and God. What are you saying, Kelby? Yeah, listen to what they say. You got to serve them. You got to pay them. You got to be a good Christian. You got to be a good citizen. You must pay all your taxes. Is that really what the Bible says? No. That's what I was taught. That was the last day I went to church and mainstream church. It's really hard to have the four fundamentals if you think old school about what it is to be a believer: prayer, worship, word, koinonia, fellowship. These are the four living principles that if we adhere to on a daily basis and we walk, but we take koinonia that you got to go to a big church. It could be a couple of families. It could be you as a head of your family. It could be you and your spouse. It could be you and your children reading, praying, worshiping together. Church. Church. Why do you think I do foundations the way that I do? Because I just want to hear a statement of faith from a family. Now you have a church. And now you've got a structure that you can put all the assets into because they don't realize their name doesn't belong to them. And if your name does not belong to you, guys, listen to me. Brad Garlinghouse, go look this up. This is cool stuff. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, XRP. You know, I talk about XRP a lot. That guy, Brad Garlinghouse, you know what he said? You don't own your name. Look it up. It's so cool. He's right. But he left a couple things out. But you don't own your name, and here's the point. If you don't own your name, what are you working for? Who are you working for? When your deed and your car and everything is in your name, it's not your name, it's their name. It's the state's name. And I've done the succession of how they made a claim to that. I've shown how they have title and hold title. I've explained this to you guys, and if I need to do it again, someday I will. But the state owns your name. And the state is under the Fed. The Fed is in a bankruptcy. And you're all a bunch of debtors. So why are you putting something, your home, your car, your children, into something that the state owns and that you become a debtor in, and that the creditors, the banks, are trying to chip and mark and identify every single person in the world? Why are you doing that? So Christianity, that freedom element of where you're being trained to serve a government instead of being trained to be self-governed. We have both in our law. You can be under the corporate United States and be an employee and serve the largest debtor in the world. Or you can be under God directly as a state citizen and known as a creditor. And then you can create private foundations, unregistered, unrecorded. You don't even need to deal with the name issue. You can go get your name back. You can take control of the name again. But why? Why not create a private foundation that's unregistered, unrecorded, that belongs to Yeshua? Read Revelations 5. Who was found worthy to open up the scroll, the title deed to the earth, and to loose its seals? Yeshua. All the 24 elders threw their crowns at the foot of him who sat on the throne and worshiped Jesus, because he was the only one who purchased by his blood this earth, not just people. I have dealt with scholars in Christianity, and this is a new concept for them. They just thought it was about the shed blood for our sins, not understanding that there is a title deed issue here on this earth. Satan has dominion. Yeshua purchased this earth 2,000 years ago, got dominion back, and now he's coming to set up his kingdom. I don't want to go through a tribulation. I don't want to go through hardships. I don't want to go through biological or, you know, forced governmental actions. I want to be free. So if Revelations 18:4 says, come out of that, and I'm a believer and it's talking to a believer, I'm going to come out. And I'm not going to care what the world thinks. And so when you're a guy like me who's been in business his whole life and just done really well and had a lot of hardships and gone through everything just like you, I just nothing resonated with me when I went through the hardships, because that's what God allowed me to go through to see the light. What I mean is the evil. I got to see all the evil and to see the light, the truth. I got to see it. And then I'm like, no, it can't be like this. I was a George Bush saluting Republican. Oh gosh, did I have it wrong. When you find out that truth, you're going to be in a lot of pain, you Republicans out there. You know, when you look at that one pretty deep, you're going to be in a lot of pain at who these guys are actually married to and what they're married to and what gender they're married to, and go back all the way. Go look at president wives for the last 100 years and try to find how many are actually maybe. Don't take my word. Go look. It'll freak you out. They maybe not be who they say they are. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit on that one because I don't want to get into conspiracy trouble and have the trolls come out and, you know, whatever. There's some crazy stuff out there. You gotta at least think about it. You know, you gotta at least consider it. But here's the point. Once your eyes are open, they don't shut again. And then some people go into panic. No, man, I get it. Take your eyes off the things that cause panic and put your eyes on the things that cause a steady nature, a steady walk, a steady, you know, I know he's on the throne. I know what I know. And I know nothing's going to shake that. I know that when God makes a promise, it's absolute. I know that we've already won. I know that this is just for shits and giggles. Just got to be something we got to play out and watch. So I'm really not worried about it. But what I want to do is live a full life. And I feel like and this is what causes the anxiety. And I feel like I gotta, you know, get ready for everything. And the world's going to heck in a handbasket, and they're delivering rocks over here, and the world's throwing rocks. So you know what? That's been going on for all of history. Calm down. You know what I mean? That's been going on for all of history. There really isn't a period in history where war has not happened, where mass murder has not happened, where governments have not done dirty deeds to their people. There really hasn't been a time. Why? Because the devil's in charge. It's his dominion right now. Even though God staked the claim of ownership 2,000 years ago, the devil had to do some crazy things to get a color of ownership. And I'm not going to get into that, but y'all have heard me before, or maybe. about land versus legal description, about a real man or woman versus a BC, about a church versus a corporation. Everything belonged to God before, and we were all under him. And there's the devil is a liar. And I'm just saying this to you guys because a lot of people are battling anxiety, and you don't need to. Just breathe. There might be some supplemental issues there from a physical standpoint, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you truly know him, you're golden. If you truly know him, you can be on a platform. You can create your own network called His Advocates TV. If you truly know him, nothing is going to scare you. Law enforcement, although they might be out there looking at things, whatever, the guys that are truly investigating and don't just hate are coming to our side. Wait till my book drops. Any day now. I think we finished yesterday and we got some stuff to do and we're gonna get it done the next day or two. Wait till that drops because it's irrefutable. It's the path. It's the Supreme Court ruling shepherdized with the proper opinions, and it can't be disputed. You can try to change and make the world order, but the people will rise. You're not going to be able to take over the entirety of the world. You know, the people will rise. And you know what rises with people is their creator. You know who defends them is their creator. And the people that truly have come out and truly have worked out a situation will develop community. They're not only going to be in community lawfully, but they're going to be in community together as one. And we're going to have to break apart this system to where people can still maybe have a license to travel, whatever, or passport or whatever. But just take all the jurisdictional bullcrap argument about you being a part of the corporation and 12 months in jail for this and this, $25,000 fine for this, and get rid of all the profit center for corporations on the contract. I do believe we need to figure things out still. You're not going to be able to just free everybody and not have restraints of things because people will abuse them. But if you solve the major issues, what is the major issues? The white elephants. What are the white elephants? I can go on and on and I can name them. Farm is a big white elephant. Take that one off the table. You've you've done a lot of good. If they were healing, if they were soothing, if they were comfortable, if they got you over and did all these things they said they do, there wouldn't have been a second one, there wouldn't have been a third one, there wouldn't have been a fourth one, there wouldn't have been a fifth one, and people all over the world wouldn't be dying. If what they created works, they'd be out of business. Listen, the original light bulb that Thomas Edison created, or whoever, it still works today. Why are you telling me that? Well, because it wasn't profitable. It's too good. They had to create something that burned out and became a profit center. Then they had to create electricity that they can manage it with instead of free energy. I can go on and on. Everything is about money. And I think we're going to be running into the correcting of these white elephants in the room. And it's going to be the people through Yeshua cleaning house, either before or when he comes. And I just want to encourage the people, no matter what you're being told, investigate for yourself the truth of your religion, the truth of your belief system, the truth of what news network you may or may not watch anymore. I don't watch any of them anymore. They're all liars. Yes, Fox News, liars. CNN, huge liars. Fox, liars. It's it's profit. It's programming. They picked the right words for television to tell a vision, channel to channel information, program to program you. They've picked the right word in creating what they have done on an international basis. And now it's in your phone and it's done through social media. And you have to set that down and you got to pick up your Bible, you pick up your faith, you pick up, leave that crap alone for at least 10 to 20 minutes a day and just get back in touch with your roots and ask God to protect you and not allow certain things to pop up in your feeds and watch what happens. Watch what happens. Because literally, guys, listen to me. When something you shouldn't be watching pops up on your phone, there's a record of it. Not only is there a record, there's a screenshot of your face and how you reacted to it. And then based on your reaction, it's going to show you more. Based on what you talk about in any room of your house, you're now going to get presented opportunities to sell you something of what you talked about. Be very careful. Artificial intelligence is here to stay, but guys, it's artificial. And there is a real intelligence, and that is us, and that is our God. And we win in the end. And I don't care what it looks like when we're going through it, but we win in the end. All right, let me get to the first question. Um, this question from Ariel. Some county in Arizona missing affidavit of property value or exemption code. In the state of Arizona, every deed requires two things per them. I added that. If there is a sale involved, you will need to fill out RA form called affidavit of property value. If there is no sale involved, there is an acceptable list of exemptions that you can choose from. Why not filling out the affidavit of property value once you determine the exemption code best suits your situation? Generally, one of those, all those forms, you can do an in-house transfer, you can do whatever. If it's a new purchase, they may or may not require the property affidavit form. You may or may not. I don't. I think if I think I know who this is, and I think they wrote a check for the house. They didn't need to get financing, so they probably were able to get it into the foundation immediately and still get title done on the property. In that respect, um, it's only under a statute that the county can determine or force something to be added to something that is recorded. The federal government says one thing, and the federal government is the law that they must record anything and they must, you know, they can't imply certain things on certain entities, especially if it's a foundation. Their statute code and ordinance does not apply to the foundation. Their statute code and ordinance is just something they're trying to honor, and they're honoring it for corporations and individuals. Individuals are corporations, they're people, they're the birth certificates for the people. So if somebody's trying to record something, they're going to try to stay under the statute code and ordinance, but it only applies to corporations and individuals. It does not apply to men, and it does not apply to uh, a foundation. So there's a couple nuances. Let's just take a look at the form together, and I'll tell you the best way I think to get that accomplished, Ariel. And we'll reach out, submit a support topic, whatever, and I'll spend some minutes. You don't need to do a consult. We'll just spend a few minutes going over that. I just want to see the exemption codes that you have to choose from and tell you which one to pick. Because we don't need to fight filling out documents for these people. Let's just get that deed recorded. The deed is everything. You know what I mean? Okay, second question. Um, iAccount being fined by code enforcement. I'm not sure to whom. I think I read this yesterday, but I'm not sure to whom to notify and adjudicate or negotiate which codes I'm willing to accept. The most obscure is a policy that now claims that Western Joshua. Oh, I did. I answered that yesterday. Um, I would like to continue the journey. What are the next steps that you recommend I take, and what other services do you provide? I answered that yesterday, or on Tuesday. Uh, we offer a ton of services. We offer services to individuals, businesses, offer a ton of help and support. Um, but what are the next steps to take? Call us, toll free, 844 his advo, 844 447 2386. Go for extension 2 or 706 for exact drops. And we'll get you every question you need answered, and and to help you get onboarded. You can start with a passport, you can start with the whole package. We actually have a special right now on the whole package, and it's $2,000 off. So give us a call and we'll walk you through that. Um, I'm considering a purchase knowing anything about exemption from sales tax when purchasing the foundation. Yeah, I read this one Tuesday. Yeah, a foundation is exempt from sales tax, but Amazon, Home Depot, they don't know that. Your gas station doesn't know that if you're using your foundation card, and they don't have systems set up. Oh, we have a nonprofit here or tax exempt here. Let's put in this code, but literally you can have, there are people out there that get their accounts with Home Depot, Amazon structurally set up in the system. So when you make a buy, you tell them you're tax exempt, and they look it up in the system. They say, "What is your phone number?" And they look it up and they realize you're exempt. It might take a little bit of a fight, or a letter or whatever, and we could help you with that. Um, okay, that was answered. On the document, self-supported ministry facts. Why are we creating a humanitarian foundation when anyone calling himself or herself a human being or a humanitarian, they are saying, according to the definition of these words, according to the law, I am an animal or I am a monster. I am not saved. That's a great question. Um, I want you to take a step back, from your thoughts just for a second and understand the law being that anytime I write a document, the common use of a word like human being, I get it. It's defined as monster in multiple dictionaries, or humanitarian. The generally accepted practice of what somebody believes of a word, their definition may not be of that word, monster, not saved, or what have you. So if I'm writing an agreement, or I'm writing a contract, or I'm writing a document or a book, I don't need to take the time to explain myself to people. If I were doing a contract, I would. If it were a contract, I would make sure that a lot of these important words would be defined so that the generally accepted practice, to whoever might litigate that later, would understand my intentions. But it is the creator of any document, it's the creator of any contract, and it's what their intent of a word is. You can have human being as being defined as monster, but it's also defined as a man or a woman. Um, Humanitarian, there is no real definition behind that, and saying it's an animal or it's a monster. It's more or less somebody that is a man or a woman doing efforts to help other people. I haven't heard the "I'm not saved" portion, but just know this, guys. Once your eyes are open, there's a lot of literals out there. One of them is one of my best friends, and they go all the way to the point where they don't want to celebrate a born day, and they don't want to celebrate, a pretend Christ born day on Nimrod's birthday, December 25th. And they don't want to take the joys of maybe celebrating the birth of Christ, or they don't want to take the joys of celebrating their children's birth. Um, I'm not poo-pooing that, but it's become so literal that the joy and the peace of God He's granted us has been stripped of everything, and we start taking the words literally, not understanding the context that I can create a document with whatever words I want, and I can use the word human being, and I could use, humanitarian foundation, and it will not mean the same context of what a Black's Law Dictionary says, because it can be either a man or it can be a monster. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And if I define that as a man on my document, it's a man. And do I want to change that? I've heard that for 10 years and I haven't done it yet. And I don't really think it's necessary, because there's maybe one or two people as literal as you or me out there, and I'm putting myself there too. But I also know the other side, that if I wrote that document, um, or if that document is mine, it's my intent. My intent for human being is man or woman. So it's what my intent is. It's not necessarily the defined word. But that word can be defined both ways, just FYI. Anyway, 2 cents. Hope that helped. But living in that literal world sucks, where you can't have joy or peace, and you can't see things maybe with a different set of eyes or different lens, and you can't, you have to, and there is no joy. I'm going to tell you something. Our God is a funny God. Don't take him for granted, but there's some humor in there. Okay. And when you get before God and you realize the junk you had to go through and all this stuff, he's going to show it all to you, and there's going to be so much humor in watching yourself go through all these failures, because he loves you and he keeps trying to pull you back in, and relying upon him instead of yourself, all those things. I mean, but just don't be as literal, because it'll rob your joy and your peace. And just know that you are in control of everything in your life. And if you want a different intention for your life, um, you can have a celebration, you can have a joy, you can have a peace, you can have anything in the midst of the wars, the rumors of wars, and all of these things going on. You can celebrate your children's birthdays, you can celebrate the Lord's birthday, and you are not going to go to hell for doing it. And it's really important to get this point. Um, I don't know why people are stuck there in the celebration of a born day. I get a birthday. I mean, a birthday, my intention of the birthday is a born day. You know what I mean? Birth for the sake of it, which a lot of people don't know. It's the tendering of a vessel, or it's an abandonment of a vessel. And I'll get into it another time. Um, we are transferring auto titles into the foundation. One of our automobiles has both of our names. Oh, I answered this on Tuesday. My name is Philip. I'm interested in learning what your service, private deed, and deed acceptance encompass. Okay. Philip, the deed that we are doing out there, and any contract that you do, has to have a seller and a buyer, a grantor and a grantee, a purchaser and acceptor, whatever you want to call it. You have to have two parties consenting to the transfer of anything. So the element of an acceptance on a deed is absolute. None of our deeds today that are being done have an acceptance. It's always the grantor signing, but never the grantee. Why? A lot of reasons why. Um, our private deed takes the deeds that are out there that are in the public currently, and it brings it back to an old school deed in the 1800s. That's it. The difference is we make sure that we use land description, We're using proper forms of vesting, and we get that deed acceptance on the deed. And every county has to accept it. And so when you're dealing in a fee simple versus a joint tenant, which are vestings, meaning how you hold title and what nature you hold title. Fee simple, go look up the definition. Super important that we get that down. But I hope that answers your question. The question I have is dealing with a household status change. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and she is primary caregiver to my 100-year-old grandfather and my mentally handicapped brother. I've become the caregiver. The government gives extra money for food if there are three people in the household and one of these people are a caregiver. My sister is dealing with all the financial business and ran this by me to see if I would be able to use my social security for these add-on benefits. So I'm asking you about this because I do know that we can use the straw man as a puppet, but I want to understand the correct way of doing it, or maybe I'm all wrong together and I shouldn't accept any of these benefits. Okay, first and foremost, it would be better if you didn't. But if there comes to that point where you have to, um, do me a favor, take a minute, become a VIP member, get us that form. We'll help you with that form. We'll help you sign it the proper way so that you're retaining all your jurisdictional rights and privileges under God, which is super important because none of those forms are to our benefit. And but if you want me to tell you how to do it right now, I'll do my best. You want to look for everything in the agreement section, the authorization, the contract, that little paragraph right above your signature, where you're consenting to give up everything, your jail time, the codes, all that stuff. I generally go in there and for myself and adjust that. I do not agree and stuff like that. And then I go into the signature area. If my name is on the top, meaning the all caps name is on the top of the agreement, I would write the word "by" in front of my name if I was actually going to sign it, meaning put my living man signature. So I put the word "by" in front of the name. I'd put a living man signature. And then underneath it, I'd put non-assumpsit, all rights reserved. Or you can avoid all that and you can just, uh, in handwriting, write the words non-assumpsit. So you literally would be taking a pen and instead of writing your signature, you would do handwriting non-assumptive. They accept it. They're going to give you the benefit, and you never signed anything. Just saying. Next question. I wanted to check in about processing time. I also had one unrelated question. My wife just got a new job, and they have great health insurance for the family. Is there any issue with me being on my wife's insurance? No, you're fine. You're good. Remember, everything is how you sign. Another question. I am still with this, but the hang up is the mailbox and trying to understand the sequencing WRT, the last day to drop. I've been trying to figure out how to eliminate the mail stop. I understand the concept, but it seems an impossibility. Look, Kevin, you hit the nail on the head. Um, so this particular answer, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on. Number one, jurisdictionally, positionally, the acceptance of personal mail is proof of holding the office of U.S. citizen. So I don't want to get into that. Read indictments, read warrants, and you'll go, oh, that's why they did this in the living and the private. Couple things to consider. I am not contracted under any 1583 whatsoever with any United States Post Office, any UPS store to receive personal mail. I went to a UPS store. I said, hey, look, I'm off this box. You can contract with whoever you want, but how much do you need from me to accept mail in any foundation name that I ask you to? And they said, $600 a year. I said, done. I said, any mail that comes into my name personally, you stamp it with this, return to sender, no such person exists at this address. Even though this is in handwriting, it's not handwriting on this side. I just stamp it. So if I see something, dump it in the mail. That is the best way to deal with the excess mail. They take you off the list. They remove it. It's the most timely thing that takes to move into the private. Getting rid of all the junk mail, getting rid of all the mail. Like I have a mailbox out in front of where I live, but no mail comes here. I even tell them stop delivering the junk mail. No mail comes here. The only reason why I keep it there is, Amazon or something if I want to get a delivery in a foundation name. I don't want jurisdictional implications that I'm using the personal name that they think they own that they can make a charge instrument or a warrant or an indictment over. That's it. Um, and if we understood truly how powerful it is, what I just said, and why we don't want to receive personal mail, I don't think anybody would want to receive it. So that's why we do the foundation. It's an extra opportunity for you to receive mail in care of. And you can get anything in care of a foundation name, anything delivered anywhere you want, and that will not invoke jurisdiction. So you can have it delivered to your house, Amazon, Home Depot, all of those in care of the foundation name, but you just got to make sure it's right. And that so if you're going to make an order, I would make an order like make a fake house name. There's nothing wrong with using a Jack Smith, whatever on an account to have all deliveries done to. Because if they don't want to take the name off, you need to make sure that the name that they actually have on is not related to you. And so there's a lot of nuancy, funny stuff, but just make it in the name of the foundation, all the mail, and work a private deal with that UPS store. They'll work with you. Or get it set up through somebody who doesn't care and then receive mail to that UPS store in a foundation name. Um, Property insurance. Once I transferred the property ownership to the private foundation, State Farm dropped the insurance. It's not true. Well, I might be true for you, but I have State Farm is the point. And I've not been able to find a carrier since. It's been months and the property has not been insured. Then get it insured. I don't understand what the issue is on this because thousands of people have their homes in foundation names and have no problem with insurance. You're not insuring the foundation, you're insuring the property. The foundation is a lost payee. You're not even if the car is owned by a foundation, State Farm, AAA, they all insure the car. The foundation is the lost payee, so that's really not an issue. And I'm AAA and State Farm. State Farm, you probably have an individual works for State Farm making an underwriter's decision, and you can easily overdo what that underwriter says by having them put it in writing that they're making a biased decision about ensuring your lost payee is being, because you're the insured on truly the house is the insured. When you're driving, you're the insured. I mean, the car is the insured. So there's really not a need for in a car, there's really not a need for a policy made out in the foundation name and or have commercial insurance. And there's sometimes a carrier will try to enforce that. And it's very simple. You just say, no, I'm insuring the vehicle, not the name on the vehicle. And I'm the driver of the vehicle. So I just want the lost pay to be XYZ. And even if they don't want to do that, just tell them, fine, make me the lost pay, insure me. You're going to get the check. You're going to sign the back of the check on an accident check, and you're going to say, pay to the order of XYZ Foundation, deposited to your foundation account. There's always a way. The only reason why we're putting the cars in the foundation name or house in the foundation name is asset protection 101. And we don't want to be sued, per se. And having a car in the name of a foundation does a lot of protections for that vehicle and the owner of the vehicle being able to be served. Meaning, let's say you have a kid drive and da 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 da, and gets into an accident and hurts somebody, and nobody's going to be able to serve that foundation. Um, Next question. Kelby once mentioned having to make changes or communicate something specific with our employees' HR when it becomes living in the private as a result of completing the to-do list of documents. I was wondering what should be communicated exactly for tax purposes. So what this person is asking is, after I've gone through the living in the private program, how do I communicate with my HR department about what steps I want to take to make changes? Number one, you're not a United States citizen anymore. And so every HR department's different. You're going to have sometimes people that think they know it all and they're going to do whatever they need to do. And so sometimes bigger companies will not do certain things, but they don't have a choice and they can't fire you for this. It's called a W-8BEN. It's a non-resident alien, and that's basically an untaxable person. And that's basically anybody out of the jurisdiction of the United States. And what people don't realize is out of the jurisdiction of the United States is a state citizen. And where's the United States? The District of Columbia. I know a lot of people don't realize that. It's not the United States of America we're talking about, it's the United States. And so a W-8BEN, and we have one that you can use and fill out and submit to them. How does a private foundation giving money from its bank account to a public entity, another straw man or business work exactly? Write a check, make an ACH transfer. Receiving from the public happens in the form of a donation to the foundation. What is the reverse of that? Essentially, there's no worry about a reverse. If somebody is giving to your foundation with the intention of getting a deduction, you want it to be a contribution, not a donation, and you can write them a receipt and they can take a deduction from their taxes, but whether they're a corporation or individual. In the reverse, if you're writing a check to somebody or you're making a payment because you're a foundation and that's your humanitarian efforts, you have no obligation to do anything other than make the payment. Took a loan out and I'm currently paying that back. What things should I consider for when sending all these notices, documents to the IRS, for example? What things should I consider? I don't really know how to answer that. Is my all caps held hostage to move forward until the loan is paid off? Um, yeah, that's another kind of misunderstanding of what happens. You don't hold the all caps, and you never will unless you go and make a um you go and you trademark your name. It's not something we do within the living in the private, but I like it. I don't have anybody that I would not say don't do that. It's just not something we do. The car loan doesn't have any effect on whether or not you can become a state citizen. Doesn't have any effect on whether you can send your documents in. The car loan, you need to pay it back. You're going to lose your car if you don't. But it's not a jurisdictional issue. You may at the end want to notice them of a correction to the application. So like one of the things that I do, if there is an application that I fill out and it says US citizen on the application and there's no other choice because it's a digital application, online application, if you will, what I'll do for members, and they can take, we have a letter, notice letter. It's a kind of like a correction letter to the application. And it's not a sovereign citizen letter. It's just basically, hey, you didn't have all the options necessary on your form. And here it is. You asked if I was a U.S. citizen. I just want to let you know that I am, in fact, a citizen of the United States of America and of California. And I'm supremely proud of that. And I want to make sure that you add and affix this to the original application, as it may have implications of jurisdiction. So please affix this or annex this to my application that I submitted to your company. You send it certified. Now you have proof you've noticed them of a correction on an application that you're not a U.S. citizen, but that you're a citizen of the United States of America. And that's really for somebody that's really an I dotter and a T crosser, and it doesn't want any issues to bite them in the butt later. But it's not something everybody has to do to be private. Removal of office of the person. So before notifying, which that is a part of our process. So before notifying all the vendors of the new box, we would need to update our account information, correct? Bill statements, all that correct. You're going to tell them no longer this name, place it under the foundation. And that's again, as dealing with the previous question, that's the hardest thing to do is to get these companies to be mailing in care of the foundation name and getting your friends and your family to stop mailing you in your name. And that's the biggest issue here. But those are jurisdictional implications, and it's something that can be granted a warrant over or an indictment over. So this is why we want to come out. We don't want to use that name. We don't want to hold the office. The element of holding the office means I accept personal mail. I put my name on registered motor vehicles. I put my name on this house. So if your house is in the foundation name, your cars are in the foundation name, and you don't receive mail in that all caps name, there is no indictment. Go read these. Go read them. Go read them. It's not me. It's what they say. It's not me. All I did was reverse engineer it. Okay. Next question. I swapped BTC for XRP, but within the same 2000 year 25, I'll end up donating everything to the foundation anyway. In time before 2026 tax season. However, in 2024, I swapped XLM for SHX. Therefore, that crypto is a bit more matured considering the IRS tax calendar. Because they are all US based cryptos, I knew Trump would eventually implement his tax-free plan on them. However, for example, her husband has made swamps for cryptos, swaps, I think, for cryptos that aren't all US based, considering that these assets are going to be donated to the foundation we're getting established. What say you on this matter? Guys, look, um, the element of you guys, and this is important, before everything goes parabolic. We're right in the beginning of alt season. Everybody knows this. Donate everything. 2 witnesses and a notary to the foundation right now. 2 witnesses and a notary. Don't worry about that year 2024, 2025, because legislation did not pass at all. It's an assumption by the IRS that cryptos are a taxable event. It is not law. So everybody's been volunteering their crypto gains to the corporation for years. It's my personal opinion. And I guarantee a CPA will tell you the opposite. CPA will tell you anything deposited to a bank account's a taxable event. That's not true. It's always a jurisdictional thing. And all those corporations and all those cryptos are not considered currency. There's only one that was considered a currency, and that happened a few months ago. That's XRP. All of those are tokens. All of those are not income. So get them all donated. Put them in the foundation. 2 witnesses and a notary, and put it on a hard wallet. I think you're golden. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. That's good. Love it. If I am going through the program, but my wife is not for now, and she is a W-2 holder, what percentage can she safely donate her income without drawing attention or problems from the IRS? We can expect to still file a 1040 for her on the balance of what is not donated, but is there a reasonable comp? I believe it's 60%. You might be capped at 50 on W-2 income, but I believe it's 60. And again, I'm not a CPA. I do not give financial advice. I perfect financial advice. I'm just kidding. I'm curious about what you think about the Alien Enemies Act, ICE deportations, External Revenue Service, and the crackdown by Trump on U.S. citizens. It is a potential threat to state citizens in the future. No, because we have we have passports. Uh, we're citizens of the United States of America. It says right there. Is there an actual case being built against us, or at least a case of no? No, there isn't going to be anything against state citizens ever. We're, if anything, I believe it's going to start with my book. There's never been a book out like mine that's going to, and this was written by a team, guys. This has been pushed through, a lot of people to help with, a lot of things. And so, no, information is power. Uh, what do I think about the Alien Enemies Act? I don't know anything about that. ICE deportations for criminals all day long. For hardworking people here illegally, give them a chance to become legal. America is your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents came here illegally on a boat. What's happening now is definitely different than what happened when our great grandparents came. Back then, all you had to do was make allegiance and hold your hand up and you were in. So don't ask me that question because I know illegals that I love and I don't even want to call them illegals. They're family. Um and you know what? They're the hardest working people on the planet and they should have a chance. As a matter of fact, the law is this. If you make it here, um theoretically, you're an American. If you now lay down and make allegiance to this nation. I say that with proof in this. ICE, Coast Guard, if somebody is caught in the water 3 feet before the shore, they can take them and take them straight back to Cuba, straight back to Mexico. If they make it to our land, they have rights. Do you ever think why that is? So what do? They put them in ICE camps illegally. Why? They've made a thing to make the world believe that they are illegal. Undocumented workers. That's the proper determination for them, quite honestly. And yeah, many of them came over in what would be determined as illegal, but lawfully. You got to understand, law is different than legal. And so what do they take when the people make it onto shore? They put them in ICE camps. Why not just take them and send them straight back? Why do they put them in ICE camps? So they give them a chance to go through a process to make them a slave. Quite literally. That is literally what they do. Take lesser rights to get your green card. There are Supreme Court rulings that I would love to test out, and I'm just starting to get into this position financially to where we can do something about it. Um, Hopefully in the next several months. But I'm going to test that theory out. I'm going to have undocumented workers, whatever you want to call them, make allegiance to a state and create a live born record for them and certify it. Not live born in California. Uh, and we got to think this thing through. But the bottom line is there are Supreme Court rulings that are not overturned that I studied about 10 years ago that would allow for this to take effect. But I've never put it through to the case. So that's my thought. I don't like anybody coming here and waving their flag and walking down our streets and causing chaos, and refusing to go home and acting like their country is better than ours. There's a reason why they came here. But I don't mind giving somebody a shot to being a good American and holding allegiance to our nation and not throwing rocks through our windows. Absolutely. I wish there was an easier road and an easier path than currently what we have. The system is broken, and it's broken in a lot of ways. It's broken in the fact that they're trying to create more U.S. citizens, more surety, more debtors, to a defunct bankruptcy, and that's really all that it's about. And the green card does that. Look at what it's written on 24-pound watermark banknote paper. That's what you get. You're getting a green card underneath the United States. You're now the surety of it. It's the same thing with the naturalized. Once you get naturalized as a U.S. citizen, same thing. 24-pound watermark banknote paper. You're now holding an interest as a U.S. citizen. You just became an approved employee. That's it. We take that and we make you a state citizen all day long. Um, so I might have thought something different if I was in a different state, and I didn't know these people personally, but I do know them personally. And once you know the legal system versus the lawful system, they're not illegals. They're just people that have not had a proper chance, and they're hardworking Americans doing jobs that I don't want to do. And God bless them for that. And 2 cents. Raul, good question. Why a foundation as opposed to a private business trust? Um, Private business trust is, I would call it a level 4 Kevlar out of 5. Private foundation, I would call it a level 5 because of the church exemption. It's automatic tax exemption. Um, Unincorporated business trust, if not done right, you can get to yourself maybe in a little bit of trouble. So there's always that implication of, here's somebody trying to pretend to be a business. And the element of the word business has to be defined in the business trust because it's a copyrighted word in a lot of different respects, but not if it's properly defined as private. So you have to think about um one's for God, one's for self. Are you the beneficial interest on it? That you got to think about it. What are your protections? Why you would want to do it as an unincorporated business trust versus a foundation when a foundation can do everything, and you for sure had the exemptions already done under IRS code and where you're as a church. And you know, they're both safe though. Don't get me wrong, they're both safe. One's a 4 and one's a 5, in my opinion, on a level of Kevlar. Out of all the foundations we've done, I've never seen any have any hiccups. I've never seen any unincorporated business trust that we've done or that anybody else has done for the matter of fact that have had any issues. Um, but I just got to tell you where I'm coming from and why I think the way that I do. So I hope that helped. Can you provide guidance on transferring assets that have a lien on them, like a house or an unpaid mortgage? Yeah, that's easy. Uh, so being a mortgage background, there's a deed of trust. The deed of trust has an acceleration clause on it if you transfer title. Out of thousands of loans I've done and tens of thousands of title transfers I've done, I have never seen a mortgage get accelerated unless you don't pay it. So, on that note, pay your mortgage, put it in the name of your foundation. Now it's private. Start working on a proper deed. Become a living in the private member. We'll give you the deed that you can use to be private. If you don't want to do that and you just want to just understand something in the book that we're coming out with, United States citizens can't own land. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I have Supreme Court rulings proving this. United States citizens can't own land. Only state citizens. Think. Think. So, as a U.S. citizen and a real estate broker by trade, what would I do if I found this out? I would create a private trust, private foundation, whatever, and I'd put that property in the foundation name. But now, do I own that property? No. Why? Because it's property, it's not land. I would change the legal description. I'd put a meets and bounds describing the land. Now, do I own that land? No, because the vesting is wrong. The vesting is a tenant instead of a fee simple. So I changed that. Is that now private? No, because there's FRNs listed on the deed. And any time where the United States or Federal Reserve notes are a party to the transaction, they are a party to the transaction, meaning they are one of the three parties. So I'd want to get FRNs off. The point is we have a private deed, and the private deed can be done by yourself through, and we'll give it to you for free if you're in our living in the private. If you want us to do one for you, we charge $4.95, and we ask you to get the meets and bounds on your land, and we will create the deed for you so you can record it. Next question. Our house just got picked for the census, and they have been badgering me to provide information about who lives in our house. What should I do about this? Ignore them. I know you don't want to hear that, Mark, but that's all I do. Post a sign, build a fence, stay off our land, ignore them. If they get a piece of mail and it bounces back, they're not going to be keep coming out. They'll leave it alone. You're not going to be arrested for ignoring a census. It's okay. Next question. After my consultation yesterday, I went to AAA about the transfer. They didn't know anything about what I was trying to do. They called the main branch and they didn't know anything either. Maybe it's just a Michigan thing, but it looks like I need everything at the SOS, they said. Anything, oh, because Michigan's the mission. Okay, so AAA doesn't contract with the Secretary of State. The Secretary of the State is the DMV in Michigan. So AAA doesn't do transfers with the Secretary of State, but they do them with the DMV in California and everywhere else. That's just weird. Grab the form the Secretary of State needs, post it to your ticket, and we'll help you get it done. Um, Deborah, I got your text today. I haven't responded. Thank you. And no problem. I'm glad you got your passport done and filed. Um, and I would address your questions right now, but it doesn't look like you need to have them addressed. Next question. How about to fill? I'm just reading exactly. How about to fill all my personal information for LPP? I have a couple of questions and a couple of notes for you. I currently pay child support as well as having enact parenting plan through the courts in Colorado. However, this is with highly hostile co-parent. So I really have to keep my eye on the ball as far as thinking ahead. My intent is to definitely have the passport. Also, I believe once prior past PP filing is a state citizen passport. Okay, I don't say question there. As well as now I have filled out my daughter's passport, and I believe hers is a state citizen passport. If your daughter is under the age of 18, depends on, I think it's, and this is something I haven't done in a while. It requires both parents, just FYI. I think the age is 16. It requires both parents to be there for the passport. So if you're going to try to submit a state citizenship passport with the other parent there, you might have an issue is the point. I also may be interested in any information you guys have regarding my empowerments, regarding my child's potential status as per how I filled out her prior passport, giving what I think is correct. Okay, so take your passport documents that you did for yourself, take your daughter's passport documents, scan them all in single PDFs, make it very easy for us to read them. And I'll look at them real quick or have our back office look at them. We'll tell you what we think, whether you did them right or not, in our opinion. Hope that helps. And you should start with that, Mark. For clarity's sake, my driver's license is up for renewal in a couple weeks. Does this passport now serve in place of the DL, given all the ramifications of the process in the works? Jen, I don't know what you've done on the living in the private, if you've gone through the entirety of the program. I would never, if I have a driver's license, give a passport in lieu of to a law enforcement officer. I would only do that if I'm going to give up the driver's license. Um, the renewal process is pretty easy. If you have any questions on the renewal, what I would do on a renewal is I would simply sign the renewal non-assumpsit and send it in. And I also do my own DMV docs that we do at his advocates to make sure that the structural standing with the DMV is understood. But for now, why use a passport when you can recontract the DL with the DMV and not really have to worry about it when you get pulled over? So law enforcement is not being trained on the fact that people can travel with a passport. They're being trained that you're a sovereign citizen. And so there's coming a time where things will get more clear with law enforcement, things will be better with law enforcement. And I think if it were me and I was a woman, and even as a man, I hold a driver's license in my pocket. I'm not going to play that game, especially if I'm driving around with my wife or my kids or any kids. Um, you can renew the driver's license without renewing the contract and just do it with the way I said to you and not deal with cutting it out until you absolutely have to. And that might be a forced injection, forced inoculation, forced something. That's why I'm saying it that way. So if they are holding up our driver's license unless we can prove X, let them have it. And we're going to have a way out completely getting rid of the license at that time for people. What's the most accurate term to call the foundation? And it does not raise flags: private trust, private membership foundation, unincorporated association, self-supported ministry. I've seen all these terms. So if you're like talking to a bank, you're opening up an account, you don't want to raise a flag, just say I have an unincorporated association. That's in all their drop downs. Any bank, any merchant account, they have unincorporated association in their drop downs. You're golden. And you don't say, listen, this is the trick that a lot of people don't realize. You don't say, I am tax exempt, because it doesn't matter at the bank. It doesn't matter at the merchant account. Just, I am an unincorporated association. Shut your mouth. That's it. You say you're tax exempt, they're going to want to see this letter, they're going to want to see that. You don't need all that stuff. It doesn't matter if you get a 1099 from them because they think you're a profit-based account. It doesn't matter. You don't have to file a return on the 1099. So just use the words unincorporated association. Just wondering what the book is called and where to get it. You're going to be able to get it on uh Amazon and on hisadvocates.org and hisadvocates.tv. Um, the name of the book is What Does It Mean to Be an American? And currently it's about 95 pages after the blank pages are stripped. It's a good book. We're going to let everybody know, and we're developing a plan to get it out to the masses, just FYI. And let me go to the Q&A of the Zoom live stream. I once did a passport program, got denied because of child support reasons. Now ready to do it again. Do I need to pay for the services at the same time? No, you don't need to repay. But since we've already did it for you and you got denied, do me a favor, get a VIP membership and we'll take care of everything for you. Um, Hey, Kelby, once you mentioned having to make changes or to communicate something specific with our employer's HR when it comes to living in the private as a result of complete this to-do list of documents. I was wondering what should be communicated exactly for tax purposes. Once you've gone through the LPP and you're ready to go, it's a W-8-BEN and they have to take it. They can't tell you you cannot do it. We are going to be creating a structural XYZ for an HR department to not be making legal decisions for our status. And we're going to be creating a set of documents basically in the next probably month. Once we get the book done, I mean, it's done. Once we get it out and market it and all that, get it going. But it's a W-8-BEN. And if you're an LPP member, you can just simply contact us and we'll get it for you. Second question, I took out a loan and I'm currently paying that back. What are the things I should look out for when considering all these notices with the IRS, for example? Was my all caps name held hostage? Okay, I answered that one earlier. So I think I answered all your questions already. Yeah, I did. Okay. You dual posted your questions, you sneaky person, you. You took the ones from your list that I already answered. Um, Anonymous attendee. I know your name, anonymous attendee. Uh, what options are there to safeguard home and land in my foundation and in the private if the county worker refuses to file the private warranty deed in the foundation? They can't refuse it, period. I mean, you may have somebody trying to push it back, but just reach out, we'll help you. As a W-2 employee, am I able to direct deposit my check into the foundation? Yes. Anything special I need to do for this? You always want to do a dual endorsement on the back of the check. Um, you sign it with your living man or woman name, and then you write underneath that deposit for lawful money for credit on account number, da 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 da, and then you write the foundation name. So again, dual endorsement. It's my name, my account number for his advocates. Your signature would be above that. And it would say deposit for lawful money only for credit on account number. And then you sign his advocates or your foundation name at the bottom. What is the situation of for the Supreme Court justice? What is that situation for the Supreme Court? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, Rhonda. Are there videos discussing the LPP active state step? Any guidance regarding choice of non-Hague? Um, Terry, what we're doing, we're charging $100 to do the whole thing for you, if that's a road you want to take. You would be required to create the court of record, which is all your documents. Um, take the active state, put it on the cover, and then we record it literally on his advocate servers, give you a cover letter, stamp, seal, all that stuff. And then now you have a publicly filed document that you can send off and get it recorded. It doesn't, the whole element of the Secretary of State, you're going to be serving them notice of the public recording anyway. So the active state at the Secretary of State, you're avoiding the apostille, you're avoiding picking the non-Hague country, you're avoiding getting it filed with them. Instead, we're putting it into the public as a permanent public record where anybody can find it and see it and measure it. And we charge $100 for that. It saves a lot of time and angst for people. So if you want to do that, reach out to our back office. Tell me you want to do that. Can you provide the Supreme Court ruling reference so I can find it for my referenced file? Which one was I referencing? I don't know. It's in my book. We have a blog with state Supreme Court cases. So go to our blog and just type state Supreme Court, state citizenship Supreme Court, something like that. It'll come up. There's a ton of cases and what is written about them. Also, can you provide the name of your book and when you expect it to launch? I just did, but I will provide it again. What does it mean to be an American? And hopefully in the next 48 hours, probably next week. I've been thinking it was going to launch for the last 2 weeks. Certified copy of passport application. Is a personally certified blended copy enough? No. It's got to be certified by the Department of State. Or is it appealing for the entire copy to be sent recommended? Ask the question differently. I don't really understand the question, Terry. If you're asking, yeah, I don't understand. So are you saying you got an incomplete set of documents back from the Secretary of State on the certification, which sometimes they pull out the explanatory statements? What we do is we self-certify. You take those docs and we do another set self-certifying them. And then we put that in the court of record and do the active state behind that. If that's what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying necessarily, but I hope I got it right. What's the renewal process while living in the private, i.e., driver's license, passport, etc.? What happens when a driver's license are tokenized on the blockchain in the near future. Right to travel versus right to drive a motor vehicle, drive without a dealer. A lot of subjection right there. I don't want to get into subjection when, something hasn't necessarily happened. I haven't heard anything about driver's licenses being tokenized on a blockchain. All I know is what I can handle, which is my contract with the DMV and or the DOS, and that's what we do. Is we do proper jurisdiction through the application process through those agencies. That's all we can control. Period. Do you remember the reference Brad Garlinghouse comment, not owning your own name, not questioning the reality of your comments? I'm just playing catch up. All right, so I'm getting called out on Brad Garlinghouse. So let me go to history on my, and let me search history, search your history, Brad. That should be enough. Ripple CEO. Hold on. Your name is not yours. I'm just trying to do you a favor right now. Brad Garlinghouse. Your name is not yours. Let's see if that comes up. I got to do a little bit more research. I just watched it, I thought yesterday. Thought it was interesting. It's not coming up immediately. I got to do a little bit more research. Hard to do it live right now, but Lisa, submit a support ticket. I'll see what I can do to find it free. My wife has an exempt license plate, DOT. Congrats, easy. And the MSO for her car, she got a ticket yesterday for not having a registered vehicle. The ticket says sovereign citizen. Well, that's a very argumentable. Justin, do me a favor, go to our because there's no name. Driving a DOT licensed vehicle without a plate or with an exempt plate with the MSO is perfectly legal, but you need to set it up properly quickly. Um, I got to name a number for you, and it's going to cost some money, but the guy's really good at what he does, and he deals with these kinds of things all the time. So just submit a support ticket. Looking forward to your test to get a live born record. Yeah, 100%. You'll be the first to know, Joseph. Isn't the mortgage already paid from the straw man trust? 100%. What does that matter? They still collected from us. Oh, they foreclose. And they only even foreclose as a rightful holder in due course. My W-2 direct deposit happens automatically electronic. Yep, I already answered that. I want to renegotiate the terms of my enhanced driver's license. How much do you charge again? $1 million. Kelly, reach out to us. 844-447-2386, extension 706. We'll help you out. Let's see if we have any other questions here. We're going to renew our DL and real ID on it 5 years ago when we did not know what it meant. Apparently, in most states, it is not law. When we renew, is it okay to sign non-assumption? I always sign my driver's license non-assumption. We will bring paperwork from refuserealid.org to show we are not required to have it. We have our passport cards, which says, yeah, it's true. But I like that. Do me a favor, upload your paperwork from refuserealid.org. By the way, passport cards are real ID. So anyway, how do I request for you to do my paperwork for $100? For you to do the active state for somebody who's gone through the entirety of the living in the private program, we will help them do the active state recording what they have done in the public for the $100. I'm interested in getting a trust, starting to renew my passport, getting rid of my driver's license. So the $100 is not the living in the private program. That's something different. But reach out. Toll free 844-447-2386. 844 his advo. Extension 2 or extension 706. All right. Cool. We shorted it. We did it. We got it. Any more in the live stream? Let me see. Excellent. Somebody who misspells my name or spells it the way they like it. That's cool. Vasily Bonti. I don't know what that name is. Anyway, glory. Guys, be blessed. We have just want to encourage you guys. Um, there's a lot going on in the world. Stop. Okay. Number one, if you're still here, get yourself involved in the crypto community structure. Stop worrying about it being a dead currency. Stop worrying about you thinking it's the devil's currency. Stop worrying about you thinking it's part of the world order. Um, you can be in control of anything and you can use it for the glory of God. And I'm going to tell you right now, the ISO coins, ISO 20022, compliant cryptos are going to be absolutely huge in the marketplace. XRP, XLM, IOTA, XDC, HBAR, and a couple of others are going to be huge. Get out there, get them in your hands, put them on hard wallets, join our VIP. We talk about how to protect them, and don't ever, 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 ever sell your XRP. They're going to run out of XRP, and the valuation of XRP currently is $3.12. In the next 3 to 5 years, 10,000. I look, it's inevitable. And it's not me that's predicting, it's the world. The entirety of the world understands what it means to push money through the ripple through the XRP ecosystem and what that's going to translate to from a dollar value for XRP. I'm really excited about it. I'm really encouraged about what's about to happen. You all are going to be a part of something. We're going to party our butts off together. That doesn't mean doing drugs. That doesn't mean getting drunk. We can still party, calm down. We're going to have a great time. We're going to dance our butts off and we're going to celebrate because we're going to do a lot of damage against this evil system and structure. And we're going to come together as the people because we're going to have a massive wealth transfer. And you watch what I say in the next 6 months. You're going to see a major difference come about. And there's very few people that know about this. So I've been talking about XRP. I've been talking about cryptos for going on 7 years now publicly. And I've told you about XRP a long time ago. And it's all the components of what I believed in 7 years ago are coming to fruition right now. It is the platform that all money will be moved through. And you can own it and put it on a hard wallet, and it could be worth as much as a 500,000 a coin or more. Not my words. Major researchers, major investment advisors, bank heads, different people are saying and believing the same narrative. So you watch, they're going to run out of it. It's going to become the most valuable thing to the planet, and everybody is going to need it. And you're going to be able to never sell it and make rates of return on unbelievable amounts of money for a long time. Stop what you're doing. Stop drinking coffee. No excuses. Sell your car, buy XRP. Whatever you got to do. God bless you guys. Thank you for hanging out. I will see you next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific for the Q&A. And appreciate you guys. Be kind, be gentle. You're not a sovereign citizen, but hey, do me a favor. When I launch this book, I'm going to launch it for about 72 hours at about 98 cents or 99 cents. Please get it out to the masses and tell them to buy it. And please get it read and forward it and get the information out. I want this to be read and I want people to know about freedom. God bless you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific. For you guys that want to pray, Saturday, 9 a.m., I'll see you. I'll be praying with you, for you.